Hey, everybody, welcome to a thing. It's been 3 weeks. I'm a little rusty, all right?
I know.
And
It's a
and
Tuesday
yeah. And,
thing.
and who are you, miss?
I know. I'm Mergoddess. Some call me Sarah.
It's all coming back to me. And
Yeah.
and and we're on Facebook Live, and we have literally no idea what we're going to talk about today.
We just wanted to get together and see what transpires out of our these mouths, right?
Yeah.
Whatever comes about.
Yeah. So what's in your heart today?
Well, I have been sharing a couple things that have been going on. So I got to swim after 102 days of not swimming, and so that was like just this like marvelous event that I couldn't have possibly predicted. It was like a whole new experience of something that I have always experienced, but I've always loved. But it was like a totally different experience because I hadn't had it in a while. So it
Hmm.
was like, it just like brought like just so much joy. And like what I got out of that was like, how can I create all of my experiences like this? Like
Uh-huh.
every experience, like whether it's like I'm running or whether it's I'm eating a piece of fruit or whatever it is, like how can I just really fully embrace this like joy feeling that I was feeling during and after when I swam, and so I've been practicing that like through these last couple of days. And today, so I ran a total of 39 miles in the month of June. So like I posted my new blog there, and then I was able to break like 13-minute mile pace, like for over 4 miles. Like when I first tried a 4 mile, like it was like at a 14-minute like pace,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to try to see what I could do. And so what I did was I started changing my beliefs about how I was approaching the run. So like there's all this history, like 7 hip surgeries and pain and the hip, like I mean all these things that I could possibly be afraid of to run, right? And I was like, I had to stop myself and think like, what is this? Like what am I doing? And it allowed me to just really shift myself and enjoy running with the backpack on.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, what comes up for me is like I could imagine like doing something that you love after 102 days of not and feeling this intense joy, but like the same is true of lots of things that we only do rarely or someone you see only once a year, like a friend or a grandparent on another coast, or like there's this specialness that comes from the rarity of it. And there's a book I read many years ago. It's sort of a novel, sort of a philosophy book of, it's called Einstein's Dreams. And it was by
Mm.
a physicist who, who wrote a bunch of stories about time and like, but time from a physics perspective, like what if time went backwards, or what if time kept renewing itself so every day was new. And there was this one chapter where there was a world in which everyone went to bed and totally reset their identity. And they
Mm.
could function, they could talk and eat and know what, like, but like the basics, but they didn't know who they were and they didn't know who anyone else was. So, and one of the things I remember is like the sex was amazing, right? Right? Like every day was the first time, even
Yeah.
even with someone you'd been married to for like 50 years. Like, oh my God, this is and there was no depth to it. Like there was a downside, right? That you couldn't experience a kind of experience, right? That you had no um, substrate for it to build on itself, to get to to know someone over time, or to know yourself. And and it was ultimately, it was like fun but sad. And I'm wondering like how you are thinking about bringing that sense of newness and joy and like intensity of passion to all these things once they become ordinary again?
Well, so I've been looking at like even what you were just saying about an experience is a experience. It doesn't have to be anything more than an experience. But the good thing is that it's like I've had this experience, and so I can take some of the data that I like from the experience, but I can also still treat it as a new experience. Because what I found is that when I actually am like fully in the present moment, I'm not carrying anything from my past in that moment to experience it. Like there's just so many things that I may have missed if I didn't. Like for instance, like today when my music shut off, right? Like and so I was like, "Oh crap." Like, like what am I going to do? But then I'm like, "Oh, when I swim, I don't listen to music. I just have a song in my head." And so then this time, like, I found myself like struggling, but then I also found myself thinking, like, what can I observe right now that I can't when I'm listening to music? And so what I found was that I'm literally like a heavy foot, when I'm running, like, I'm like, whoa, I definitely sound like an elephant in the jungle right now, like, and I was like, okay, like, so now, like, this gives me awareness to kind of like, try to see like what else I can do to
Uh-huh.
like lift my legs higher and be more like lighter in
Uh-huh.
that sense. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So that while some part of you is um, remembers experiences, right? So like obviously, if you're trying to get better as a swimmer, your body is and your mind is processing past mistakes, past successes, experience, learnings. But some part of you in the moment is still treating this as a brand new experience, sort of a beginner's mind.
Yes.
That's how do you let me think of a better question than how do you maintain that? How how do you know you've lost it?
So for me, like I found that like it in the moment if I've lost it, like I am having negative thoughts about what's happening. So like for instance, like when I was swimming, this time and like I even like smacked my hand on the railing and like, it kind of hurt, but like usually like I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, like why did I do that?" and you would have this like negative like rapport with yourself of like just beating yourself up
Hmm.
essentially in your head with your thoughts, right? But now instead of like doing that, like I'm noticing when it's happening and I'm like, okay, like what kind of thing can I tell myself that will bring me joy? So like for instance today when the music shut off and I was like, "Oh my gosh," and I noticed that I was immediately going to start like, you know, feeling some kind of way about myself, I was like, "Body, you're doing your best." And I started talking to the cells of my body, and I could feel the cells of my body like actually responding, and it was like, okay, like it isn't that bad. So like I let out a yell, right? To just like kind of release any kind of tension that I was feeling, but I was able to still like go back to that like, wow, that was a really great run. And so like when I was swimming, there was no time because I hadn't had that experience in a while. There was no time for me to even think about my hand being hit because I was just so grateful to be in the water. So like of course when it's an experience that you haven't had for a while, you may treasure it in a different way than when it's something that you're doing pretty regularly and you start to notice. So like for me, like I'm going to keep like giving myself like affirmations and positive feedback when I notice that negative self-talk wants to kind of kick in because it's just a habit that maybe I've had, and I didn't notice it because I was just like, "Oh, okay. Oh, let me just like tell myself how much I hate this running right now." And then the running never gets better. But what if I looked at it as like, "Oh, I get to run today and now there's this whole thing that I get to see and now I can kind of start progressing in that way instead of looking at it as like this like horrible thing that I have to do right now."
Hmm. Hmm. So where my mind is going is somewhere totally opposite, and I think there's a relationship, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
So you're talking about like situations that you want to appreciate more and find more
Yes.
joy in. I want to talk about things you want to find less joy in, like junk food or bad habits.
Mm.
How does this have a mirror quality to it? Like, is this approach also useful for saying, well, I want to notice myself and like my relationship with this Snickers bar or this donut so that I can choose something else?
Um, Well, yes, I believe it can have this context because what can happen over time is that when you start to develop healthy habits and you happen to eat that, one, since that you've been doing these healthy habits, your mind is immediately going to say, like, what did you do that for? Immediately. Like,
Hmm.
after, like, maybe in the time that you had the healthy food to the Snickers to now the Snickers is over, you're feeling horrible about yourself,
Hmm.
and so it's like, how can we, fine tune those moments where we're eating healthy, we skip that part of like not needing the Snickers bar, and then immediately being able to fulfill ourselves with something healthy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think it really does have something to do with your mind. Like, so when I've been coaching people, like some of the new people that we've had that have been really great, um, a lot of them, would tell themselves that they have this thing that they want to go to the freezer to eat that ice cream, right? But like but now that they're eating healthy, like just by opening the fridge door, all of a sudden starts to feel a different way to them. And so I describe to them that the more that they become aware of what they are doing, because when you're going to eat a Snickers bar, you're going to eat ice cream, you're on autopilot. You're like, I'm hungry, I just want to do this. And you're not even thinking about exactly what it is that you're doing.
Hmm.
So the moment that I shared with them to be more aware with everything that was going on, their thoughts, their movements, everything, then they started to make that, transition of like, ooh, like I decided that I wanted to eat cookies because I watched a show. But I'm realizing that I didn't actually want the cookies. It was because I saw them in a show, and it started to replay this thing. And then, like, just the other day, I saw that this woman was offered like cheesecake and then was able to turn it
Hmm.
down. So, like, I think, like, the more that we, like, really become aware of what it is that we're doing, especially with food and our relationship with good habits or bad habits, and then look at them as a whole and really try to dive in and see what else we can do to be aware of it.
Hmm. So I hear two things. One is that um, really embracing the joyful things and slowing down and being aware and being conscious and not taking things for granted is actually good practice. Like, because we tell people to like, bring awareness to when you want to binge, and that's when you have power. But if we just tell people, okay, here's this thing called awareness or mindfulness, it's really great, and we want you to associate it with self-deprivation for a while, right?
Yeah.
Then people are like, well, why would like the minute they think of mindfulness, they think, oh, that's when. But
Hard work.
if we first associate mindfulness with swimming, with things we love, and we find that sometimes we can just phone them in and not be fully present for them, then this mindfulness, this awareness, has a very positive quality that we can then bring to the Snickers bar without damaging it.
Exactly.
And the second thing I'm hearing is contrast. That for a lot of people, and certainly for me, when I was eating a lot of crap, that was my main source of jollies, right? Our addictions are where we get our fun. They are
Mhm.
right. They're the medicine we're taking to make ourselves feel okay. And so when you go for that swim and you experience the utter bliss of being back in this element after 102 days, you're filling yourself up with joy in a different way. You don't need the Snickers bar to complete that.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
And also, I'm finding that I don't even necessarily need the swim every day. Like even for like I was able to like take out of all my goals and everything and really just like appreciate the gratitude of like getting to swim. And like when I do get to swim multiple times a day or throughout the week, I'll look at it differently. I'll notice like when I start to maybe have a like, oh, I don't want to get up or I don't want to do this, kind of feeling, and then it's like, wait a second, like that's not really what I'm feeling. What is it that I'm feeling? And kind of dive into like, where is this pattern coming from? And it could be just me talking about an experience that I had and trying to link it into this now moment. Because like even like starting to run every day, like it's so amazing how I can tell myself like, man, that was a great run. And today I can go and run again and I don't even feel as if I ran yesterday. But before, when I was like, oh, this whole thing of like, oh, I ran and I hurt and all these things, like it created all this contrast within my body, within me, that made it harder for me. So people could be doing the same thing with the Snicker bar. It's like you really don't want the Snicker bar, but like there's something that you feel is going to fill that void. But if you look at what is causing it, you can take out the Snickers bar completely and not have to have that contrast in you.
Hmm. Do you have any rituals that you do to sort of remind yourself of this state of mind of appreciation and gratitude and awareness? Because I'm thinking about how I grew up, Jewish. There's like a blessing for everything. It's almost it's like the topic of jokes in Jewish culture. Like, what's the blessing for changing the light bulb? What's the blessing for tying your right shoelace? Like, when I grew up, there was blessings for washing your hands, blessings for when you see a rainbow, blessings for eating bread, a different blessing for eating fruit from a tree, a different blessing, for eating prepared foods. And of course, most people, and certainly I, was just sort of like, oh, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, automatically. It's occurring to me that it was a kind of a hard stop designed to get you to bring intention to it. Do you have any rituals that you do to sort of remind yourself? Because for so long you weren't like this, right?
Yeah, no, I was not like this at all. I was completely a different person. But my favorite one that I've really been sticking with right now is thank you, give me more. So I'm thanking my experience for having whatever the experience is, whether it's like I run into a door or I'm having some type of pain or whatever it is. Like I'm literally like, thank you, appreciating that the experience was amazing no matter what it was, and I'm asking for more. And so of course when I state that I give me more, I'm looking for the best possible scenario that I could get in the next moment.
Mm.
And so by thanking for whatever experience I received, I can receive that next experience like even 10 times more better than the next one. And then even 10 times more better or a million or whatever I want to have. But that one has been just like really sticking with me for anything I do. So if I like write out an intention for the day, like today I'm focusing on ease within my day, right? So that's like the intention for the entire day. And then like I'll listen to different people or I'll meditate and write down lists and things like that. And then when the end of the day is done, I'll write down, thank you, give me more.
Mm.
And so that kind of like helps with me just kind of like interpreting what happened in my day and just appreciating it no matter what, because I feel like sometimes when we don't appreciate where we are right now or in this moment right now, we can't appreciate the next thing that's going to happen. If I'm overweight right now and I can't appreciate the way that I am now, I'm not going to be able to appreciate myself when I'm a marathon runner and I'm not the previous weight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing that I didn't do really, which it could maybe my journey would have been faster, but it was perfect the way it was. But I mean, for me, it was just like I was so focused on where I wasn't, and I stayed there a lot longer than accepting where I was and just kind of allowing myself to go to the next moment.
I can't remember who said it, but there was some spiritual teacher saying that most people's unconscious daily prayer is, "Dear God, change the laws of the universe for my benefit."
Yeah. No, and I remember like myself even like there was a time like that I was always like really really like praying for God, but I noticed I never prayed if I didn't need something, right? It was like if I needed something, like I'm always in this like prayer, like okay, like I need something, right? But like what we do is like when we're in a state of need, we're literally creating resistance so that, God or energy, universe, whatever it is that people, believe in, that can't get to you. Like the thing that you're wanting can't actually get to you the way that you want it because now you've created like this little knot that's going on, because you're demanding it. It's like I have to have this thing going on. Even like when we talk about like people saying I need to versus I want to. And you notice like when you say I need to, like nothing ever gets done. It's like, oh, whatever. But then when you say I want to, it like changes the whole entire thing of like how you go about doing it.
Yeah, I need to is like a bunch of people behind the truck pushing it out of the mud, right? I want to is, the winch, uh, attached to the tow truck, pulling you forward. It's much more powerful and much less effort.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and and I feel like that is the same with how, the law of attraction and the universe works because when we're stuck in the mud, I mean, we're not really good on what it is that we've asked for, but if we're like already in that direction of momentum, it's easier to achieve that.
Mm. All right. I think we good here for this week.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Cool. Thank you. I'm glad we came up with something on the spur of the moment.
Of course, there is always something in the moment.
Right. And if there isn't, we'll just stay here for 10 minutes and smile at each other in silence.
Exactly. That could work too. Perfect. Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank
See you next
you.
time.
Bye.
Bye bye.